Hello, my name is Cynthia Hobbs, and this is my presentation in my FCST 584 Family Law and Ethics class as part of my graduate program. My presentation is titled Teaching from the Heart. It's an interview with a professional. Her name is Mrs. MaryEllen. She is was an early education teacher, and she's retired at the moment. Mrs. Tejas explained how she was raising a family and getting a master's degree in early childhood education. Here's a picture of her and her husband, Mr. Tejas, and he was an E7 at the time in the military. He was in the Army, and they were raising 6 beautiful children. She had 3 girls and 3 boys, and she says she believes that raising her kids did have quite an influence on her wanting to be an early childhood teacher. She obtained a level 3A instructional leader B3 early childhood license here in the state of New Mexico, and she couldn't wait to start teaching. She was very enthusiastic, and she had a heart of gold for wanting to be there for children in preschool, kindergarten, and grades 1st through 6th grade. Family history on Ms. Tejas. MaryEllen Tejas and her husband, Elfego Sonny Tejas Jr., have lived in Las Cruces almost their entire lives. They were away for a while as Ms. Tejas supported her husband, Sonny, as he completed his 20-year career with the United States Army. As soon as he retired, they returned to Las Cruces, where they had both been raised. They both graduated from Las Cruces High School, and by the time they were ready to further their education, they had children old enough to attend college with them. Ms. Tejas and Mr. Tejas were recognized many times during her teaching career. She had a love for teaching like no other. It seemed that educators are faced with being nurturers to children who come to school hungry or tired. They have students who had limited English proficiency, students who were challenged by family turmoil or health and behavioral problems that make it difficult to focus on learning. These challenges made it nearly impossible for schools to find teachers who are not only educated, but dedicated to their field. And here is a wife and husband duo working in the education field because they want to make a difference. Sonny was admired because he was an educational assistant in the physically impaired class. He had worked for a while at Mayfield doing the same type of job, and then he got a job at the same school, which was Alameda Elementary, which is the same school where MaryEllen Tejas worked. And so together they were a duo that was unstoppable. Mrs. Tejas explained her love for teaching. She made it a very strong point to tell me that it was the profession that she loved. She just wanted them to let her teach. She had the passion, she had the hope, and she was very successful. She wanted the students to become inspired. She wanted to show them that she was dedicated to teaching them, and she wanted the students to rise above, and all she wanted to say was, just let me teach. Mrs. Tejas was not only a dedicated teacher, but she also wanted to be a friend and a mentor to her students. She was very interested in teaching them habits, healthy habits for learning. She wanted them to be mindful and to be a part of their education. She had them all learn this pledge so that they could be in charge of themselves. She wanted them to plan. She wanted them to put first things first. She wanted them to think about working, then playing. She wanted it to be a win-win situation. She wanted them to listen, then speak. She wanted to make sure that they understood what was happening as far as their education was concerned, and that they were taking it seriously and that they wanted to learn. Besides being a role model, Mrs. Tejas participated in home visits along with her husband and 65 other staff members at Alameda Elementary. She said that it is very important and it's a very positive way for parents to see teachers in a different light outside of the school environment. She stated that it opens communication so that the doors will be open and that the parents will feel free to talk to her about anything. Ms. Tejas also stated that this way the teachers get a firsthand view of the child's environment at home and they can identify any obstacles that the child may face, and that it's a really great way to get to know parents on a much more personal level. It was extremely important for Ms. Tejas to get her point across that she cared for the kids. She made it a point to tell them every day how important they were, how special they were. She let them know that they came first as far as her being a teacher and them being students. She wanted them to feel wanted, needed, and not left out in anything that they did. She always tried to make sure that they all were not only friends, but that they showed mutual respect towards each other and any other teachers or adults that might be there at school. Besides Ms. Tejas teaching the children morals, manners, and respect, she also taught through creativity in the classroom. Bulletin boards were her specialty. She always involved the children anytime she would make a bulletin board. They'd have a discussion, or she'd present something like, okay, we're going to have this reading corner over here. What do we want to do with it? How do we want to decorate it? Who would like to be involved? How would you like it to look? What does it do for you? How does it make you feel? All of those things were extremely important for her, and that was part of her teaching through creativity. As I mentioned, Ms. Tejas taught through creativity in the classroom, and these are some more bulletin boards that she created or that her students helped her create. The one on the left, she created that on Veterans Day. It was a display board to honor and recognize her husband, who was in the United States Army for 20 years. And every Veterans Day, her husband would go to the school and he'd visit the children in the different classes. At one point, he lost 40 pounds so that he could fit back into his military uniform, because it meant that much to him to go there and present himself as a United States veteran to the students. The bulletin board on the right, she created a jousting experience. She actually created the jousting structures and she made and sewed their costumes. Here are a couple other examples of how Ms. Tejas taught through creativity in the classroom. The bulletin board on the left is paintings of pumpkins, and she said that this was a very special project for her, and if you'll notice, there's a first place ribbon on there, so they entered that into the county fair and they got first place. The bulletin board on the right is during her after school program. They learned about character and what type of character you need to have to be a positive person and a positive learner, and how to apply character to your life. Because bulletin boards were Ms. Teja's specialty, she took great pride in presenting them not only to her students, but she wanted her students to present their ideas and their creativity in bulletin boards to the rest of the school. So she not only had bulletin boards inside the classroom, she also had them outside the classroom. And during this after-school program, she wanted them to present Martin Luther King's Keeping the Dream Alive. And as you can see, they all traced and cut their hands out and placed him up there. Also on the right, Ms. Tejas is a very patriotic person, and she wanted the students to experience patriotism and to acknowledge veterans and what veterans have done for our country. Ms. Tejas, through the nutrition services there at school, through the Las Cruces Public Schools Nutrition Services Department, was involved in the tasting curriculum. She was teaching the children nutrition education, and she designed it so that it would help the students learn about how they could become healthy and what foods they needed to eat to become exposed to healthy eating. Students learned how to draw pictures of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. They tasted the food, they drew graphs, and they learned about the most popular varieties of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And because it was such a special program, an important program there at the school, they also had a write-up and a news release in the Las Cruces Public Schools bulletin. Ms. was not only involved in teaching her students, but she was also very involved in any type of help that she could get for her students, for the classroom, for the school, for the teachers, for herself maybe as a teacher. Ms. Tejas applied for several grants and received 2 for her classroom. She was one of 1,000 teachers nationwide who received gifts as part of the A Day Made Better. That day, she received a bouquet of flowers, balloons, a new leather desk chair, and $1,200 in school supplies for her classroom. She was so proud. She was selected for her dedication and passion to the educational success of her students. And this honor came about from Office Max, and it was called Adopt a Classroom. As I mentioned before, Mr. and Mrs. Tejas were very patriotic, and she wanted to promote patriotism in the classroom. She wanted the children to learn about honor and respect. She always made it a point that they celebrated Veterans Day and as an opportunity to learn about patriotism for our country and to show appreciation to the men and women who served in the armed forces. She invited her husband, retired Master Sergeant Elfego Tejas, each year to share with their classroom his United States Army experiences. Along with her creativity, Ms. Tejas also insisted that her students learn about history. She wanted them to honor Martin Luther King with an original play that she wrote. Each year in February, to honor the civil rights leader, Ms. Tejas' classroom performed the play for the entire school. Ms. Tejas wrote and directed the play. She also made and sewed the costumes. Her second grade student was recognized for his reprised role as Martin Luther King. Mr. and Mrs. Tejas were a very empowering couple. Not only did they love and care for and support each other tremendously, but Mr. Tejas also worked as a special needs mentor and role model. After retirement from the United States Army, Mr. and Mrs. Tejas both worked at Alameda Elementary School. Mr. Tejas, pictured below, worked with students with special needs and disabilities. He was a very compassionate person and was looked up to by his students and his peers. Their motto was, "You can steer yourself in any direction that you choose. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There's no one alive who is youer than you." Mrs. Tejas had many recognitions, awards, and certificates, alone as a teacher, with her peers, and also as a couple with her husband. Her accolades were too many to mention. These are only a few of her distinguished awards and accomplishments. At one point, all of the teachers at Alameda Elementary honored Ms. Tejas with the Mother Teresa Award for bringing the staff and students together, encompassing love, laughter, and food. Ms. Tejas was also an extreme team player that included all. She got that award or that certificate for her hard work and by doing it with sunshine, with a smile on her face and with love in her heart. Although Ms. Tejas was diagnosed with breast cancer, she always made it a point to encourage her students to participate in health awareness events and contests. She also had many notes that were thanking her for her commitment and collaborative efforts to build a positive, calm, and safe environment for the students and staff. Here's some more examples of thank you notes that Ms. Tejas would receive all the time or throughout her teaching career. She had notes of recognition and personal thank yous from the school's principal, but the thank you notes from her students were the ones that meant the most to her. There's one on the right that says, "You're a great teacher, Ms. Tejas. Love, Alyssa." Here's a picture of Ms. Tejas just after our interview, and she's a very proud teacher. She accomplished a lot in the years that she was able to work as a teacher. She's extremely proud of her students and how they accepted responsibility for learning in the classroom and for learning how to live and treat others. Ms. Tejas went above and beyond what most people do during their teaching careers. She also wrote this special poem that I wanted to read for you. To speak the language of teacher. To speak the language of teacher is to be able to see through the eyes of a child and feel the spirit of children. To speak the language of teacher is to be able to smile on the outside when you're crying on the inside because of the pain your children face. To speak the language of teacher is to be able to hear the rhythm of play and the music of learning. To speak the language of teacher is to be able to reach a child in spite of obstacles unseen. To speak the language of teacher is to show my love for each child individually, unconditionally, and sincerely. And that is what I see as teaching with heart.